Why You Shouldn't Eat Your Boogers, and Other Useless and Gross Information About Your Body by Francesca Gold. This is actually nuts, and I want to know how much of it is true. Is it true that a heart transplant can change your personality? Now, medical opinion is divided about whether or not organ recipients can take on the personalities of their donors. There is anecdotal evidence that might suggest people take on some characteristics of the donors. So, the medical community, doctors and researchers and stuff, just don't have enough evidence to support it, but there have been stories of it happening. Here are a couple of them. Pretty crazy. So, in her 40s, American Claire Sylvia suffered from an incurable and progressive heart disease. So, she was terminally ill. She was going to die without a heart. Well, an 18-year-old guy who got into a motorcycle accident and suffered severe head trauma, his heart worked just fine, and he was an organ donor. So Claire got his heart, and she survived the operation. But while she was recovering, she noticed some very strange things change about her personality. Before, she was kind of a health nut, and now she suddenly had cravings for beer and chicken wings, beer and chicken nuggets, all the time. All she could think about was drinking beer and eating chicken nuggets. And, like, it would just, like, eat at her. And then, suddenly, she also started having really strange, vivid dreams about some guy that she didn't know. Just, like, some guy would pop up in her dreams. And then, up to that point in her life, she had always been straight. But suddenly, she had a real penchant for ladies. She was out, like, oh, wow, these ladies, especially blondes, they're just so pretty. So she ends up meeting up with the donor's family. And she asks them, like, hey, was your son, like, really into beer and chicken nuggets? And they were like, oh yeah, beer and chicken nuggets are all that he ate. Which, you know, is good news if you're the recipient of the heart. And then she was like, was he, like, really into blondes? And they were like, oh yeah, all of his girlfriends were blondes. He was always chasing after some blonde. And then they show her a picture, and the guy in her dreams is the donor. She's like, that's him. It's exactly who I'm seeing. So she's pretty sure she's picking up on memories left over from this guy, which is just one of the craziest, coolest things ever. And then here's another one. Prior to receiving a heart transplant, William Sheraton, a catering manager, so he was a retired guy, but he was a catering manager his whole life. He claims that he had the artistic ability of a child. He said he couldn't draw, he didn't know how to do anything, right? And then he gets his heart transplant, and suddenly becomes like Picasso. He is painting these intricate, gorgeous paintings. He is sculpting, he's drawing, has these uncanny abilities. So he finally gets the chance to meet the mother of his donor, and asks, was your son really into painting? Was he, like, a great artist? And she says, quote, he was very artistic. He showed an intense interest in art when he was only 18 months old, and growing up, he always preferred to be given art supplies rather than toys. Isn't that so crazy? It makes me think that, like, maybe there really is possibly one day where they could put your cryogenically frozen brain into, like, a body that they 3D print out of human materials, or maybe even a robot, and it would already, maintain all your brain and all your memories and everything, and, like, your personality, and you could just plop that brain, plop, right into a machine or something. It's happening, people. It's happening. The technology doesn't exist yet, but it will one day. The future is almost now.